today at the View Cinema for the viewing of the Lady of Heaven movie. So how did you hear about the movie?
Well, I was just on social media, and I heard there was a protest actually in somewhere, I believe Bradford, and there was people out there were protesting about the movie and didn't want sort of people to come in and watch this, and they were making some slogans and all sorts, and I was intrigued actually. And so I decided today to come and watch the movie with some of my friends actually.
One of the concerns of members of certain communities has been that this movie will lead to a rise in sectarian tensions. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it shouldn't really, because it's we have the freedom of speech. We live in a country like this, and everybody should come in and have a look at it. I mean, there's a lot of information out there on the internet and all that kind of stuff, and I think they've put something together, and I'm really looking forward to it. So and see what's on the movie itself, really. Okay.
Can you give us a brief synopsis of what the plot of the movie is about, for example?
I think the movie's actually directed around the daughter of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the accounts that actually happened during the period of. Obviously, I haven't seen the movie itself completely at the moment, but I know it's about some of the characters that were actually present during that particular period, and how they sort of turned away from, after the demise of the Prophet, and how they treated the family, of the Prophet. So interesting. So I'll be seeing how they've portrayed that in the movie.
Okay. Do you have any advice for the public that are watching this video? Do you have any suggestions for them, or any kind of encouragement? Or
I think everybody should come watch the movie, and come with an open mind and see what it's about, and of course, if you have any issues in regards to this, you should go back and do some research. There's a 1400 plus years worth of history there, and the internet's a brilliant place, to go and find your information, and I think a lot of people will be surprised in terms of the accounts that happened, and you should have an open mind in regards to this.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum, Sayyidina. It's a pleasure to have you on the channel. Welcome to Bayat Al Ghadeer. Would you like to introduce yourself for the viewers that don't know who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Sayyid Ali Shubairi. Been involved in some Shia propagation work, alhamdulillah, in the past. Half Iranian, half Scottish, and I came to see the movie today, and I bumped into many of these brothers and saw that they were here. So, alhamdulillah, it's a good turnout so far.
Are you excited to watch the movie?
Yeah, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this movie, and there's been a lot of planning, because I knew about the movie 5 years ago, so raised some funds for it. And of course, in the beginning, they had some trouble when they were making it, but finally the movie got made. And of course, a pirated version came out, but a lot of us had to be patient, because we said if we want to give a fair judgment of the movie, we need to watch the movie in HD, in high quality. So that's what I've come to do today, give a fair judgment and see how the movie is.
What are your thoughts on people using the movie to claim that it's leading to sectarian tensions?
Well, I think unfortunately a lot of people, they have their own agenda. We saw there were protests in Bradford, them trying to get cinemas to take the movie out. And there's been a lot of lies about it. For example, that there's racism in the movie, whereas we see good characters are portrayed as black individuals, as well as the bad characters. Also, there's been false rumours that there's an actor that's playing the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we know, it's CGI. So I think about this sectarian tensions, I think it's just an excuse, because obviously this is discussing a Shia historical narrative. And what we want to do with this movie, and I think the makers wanted to provoke discussion and maybe unravel some ideas which have not been exposed to the mainstream Muslims. So I don't think it will cause sectarian tensions. I think this is just an excuse for people to try boycott the movie, not get the message out there.
What's your opinion on the religious figures themselves shown in the movie?
So in terms of the CGI, obviously there's a difference of opinion. A lot of the Shia scholars, they say as long as it's not a type of hatk, like mocking or disrespect, then it is permissible. But a lot of Shias have to remember they themselves have, purchased, let's say, imaginary pictures, drawings of the Imams, and they never objected to them. So from the Shia side, when some of them objected to this, I believe it's not being just about that, because you have to be consistent. So obviously we know Fatima al-Zahra, she's not showing in the face, and it is CGI, because of course we don't want an actor playing the Prophet and then this actor will go to a movie drinking alcohol. So of course it's done by CGI, so no one can claim that it's a real character portraying them. But this is a fiqh issue, obviously. You have to go back to what the ulama say about it. For example, Sayyid Sistani, one of the most widely followed Shia clerics, said there's not a problem as long as there's no type of mockery or disrespect. So this isn't for lay people to just make their opinion. Go back to the ulama on that issue. It's a fiqh issue.
That's a really good summary, and inshallah we will speak to you after the movie.
Inshallah.
Thank you for your time, Sayyid.
Yeah, thank you, brothers.
And we'll speak to you soon. As you both know, that we're here for the screening of the Lady of Heaven movie. What are your thoughts about it? Are you excited to see it? Share your thoughts.
Well, this film has been, I believe it's been almost 2 or 3 years now. It's been under production, and it's come out in the US first, so we're quite late to the show. But alhamdulillah, now the film's here. As you've mentioned, I think one of the brothers did it previously before. This movie is based on the life of Sayyeda Fatima and the Prophet, peace be upon him. So this is the second time I'm watching the film. I actually had the pleasure of watching the film before in cinema. And yeah, I don't want to spoil it for other people, but it's interesting. Definitely, absolutely interesting.
How about yourself, brother?
Yeah, I mean,
You're
this is the first
quiet.
time. This is the first time I'm watching it. So I am intrigued to see, because I've heard a lot of different. I've heard some negative feedback and I've heard some positive feedback. So I'm looking forward to see what the hype is about. Inshallah, I think it'll be interesting. And yeah, can't wait.
Is the controversy that's out there about this movie, has it put you off watching it, or has it discouraged you from maybe like mentioning this movie to people that you know?
Of course, generally there's all sorts of criticism you hear from this film, not just from the Shia side, but even from those of other schools. Because I believe some of the central figures in this movie, or some of the figures in this movie, are considered as sacred symbols for others. So in terms of the content, yes, I can understand from their perspective how they may take offense to it, but at the same time, they also have an opportunity to, maybe respond back to the content of this film.
What are your thoughts on holy personalities being portrayed in this movie or depicted?
I think the Sayyid previously responded to that, but generally from a fiqh point of view, the Shia scholars, there's a slight difference of opinion. Some scholars permit it, some scholars say it's forbidden. What we find is, there's been other TV series people have done. Like, for example, there was a series on Umar. Nobody had an issue on this. And there's a long history within Muslims themselves depicting religious figures as well. But I think that's a topic for another time. But yeah, from a Shia point of view, as I said, there's a difference of opinion. Some scholars permit it, some scholars don't. Based on what I've seen of the film already, but generally I didn't find those characters doing anything disrespectful that would jeopardize having those figures, those religious figures shown in terms of their faces.
Finally, do you want to maybe give a message of advice to those people who have some apprehension in watching the movie, or have been discouraged by other people from watching the movie?
Yeah, I mean,
is there any messages for them?
Yeah, I mean, on a general note, for the genuine Muslims, you must have heard, everything, the protests going on. I think what you need to do is you need to watch the movie for yourself first, and then, you can, criticize it or whatever. And for the Shias, I think it's a no-brainer. It's a movie about Bibi Fatima alayha, and, if we want to support Bibi Fatima alayha, I don't think things like CGI have to face it, or, these type of things, I think they shouldn't make a difference, the motive, of the movie is to tell everyone, about what happened to Bibi Fatima alayha, the oppression she had to, endure. So I think from that, point of view, don't worry about what anyone says, and watch the movie, and then you can have your views afterwards, inshallah.
I mean, there's a lot of controversy behind who's behind making the film. Irrespective, any movie that comes out on any religious figure, especially that's sacred to us, we would want to watch it. So as long as, they're following certain guidelines, I don't see why it's an issue. But at the same time, of course, I do say refer back to your scholars. If you follow certain scholars that have, maybe given fatwas preventing people from watching this, then yes, no doubt, I would say, refrain from watching it. You don't want to disobey your scholar on this particular issue, ruling. But yeah, there's others who don't follow, jurists who say it's fine to watch it. So yeah, I myself, since I've already watched the film, I do encourage people to come out and watch the film, watch the movie. There's a lot of information there for people to benefit from. I think we'll discuss that afterwards, inshallah.
Thank you very much for your time, brothers. So you've watched the movie now, The Lady of Heaven. Your thoughts?
Yeah, so obviously I was waiting a long time to see this, and overall I like the movie. I've seen some very harsh criticism of it. I've seen some people say it's just perfect, but what I'd say is that we should all know it's quite hard to put all of these historical events within, let's say, is it 2 hours, 12 minutes, or 2 hours and 20 minutes?
It was somewhere between that, yeah.
Yeah, somewhere between this time. So I think it got a lot of the main events in. There are some things people say were missed out, but overall I liked it, and I think as an introduction to provoke thought and get non-Muslims to look into it more would be something for everyone to see.
Okay. Do you think the format would have worked better as a series?
No, I believe the movie format, if you want to aim it towards Shia, then of course, if people are willing to fund something like this, continue on from the movie or make a series, whatever, that would be good. But I think for the non-Muslims, the movie is better, because if you've got like 10 episodes, 20 episodes, we could make a series, maybe 50 episodes, people are not going to watch it. So it was obviously probably a struggle for them to put all of this in, and maybe they had to cut scenes. We'll probably see in the behind the scenes if they make a documentary, which I heard they're making, but no, a movie would be a better choice, definitely.
Okay.
Well, it was a better choice.
I think that's quite positive. Did you see, this is the controversial part now, did you see any form of racism present in the movie? Because this is quite a hot topic at the moment, as well as you've seen on social media.
Yeah.
So, your take?
Yeah, no, as I said before, I believe people are using this as an excuse. I didn't see any racism. You do see Fidda, you see Bilal, and you see positive characters who are portrayed as black as well. And you even see bad characters which are light-skinned. Had all of the bad characters been dark-skinned, or let's say black complexion, then someone could have a case for it. But this is obviously just a lie or something people pushing forward to boycott the film. So I don't believe I saw any racism, no.
Okay, that's good. Would you be in support of a sequel to this movie? And if so, what would you, if you had a choice, what would you choose for it to be focused on?
So that's a hard one, because even me myself, I wouldn't have minded if it was 4 hours. Obviously can't make a film like that, people walk out. But yeah, maybe how did Imam Ali alayhi salam, after Fatima al-Zahra, she died, it would be good to show how did he handle the situations and living around, for example, these hypocrites such as Abu Bakr and Umar, as shown in the film. So that would be probably good, that how did he deal with this, and of course how Aisha turned against him, had a war against him, how he had wars with Muawiyah. There's so much stuff we could mention, which there could be a type of sequel, but first we need to see how do people respond to this, and what did the non-Muslims understand from the movie.
Okay. Thanks very much for your time today, Sayyid.
I think it would be good to just mention which scenes kind of stood out.
Sure.
I think this is important. So one scene, and I believe the movie itself, there's scenes that made myself emotional, many other brothers, but one scene that stood out was when Imam Ali alayhi salam, he was tending to the Prophet, and you see that, you know, the person comes and tells him, you know, they're all just running after the leadership. This was something strong there, as you felt a strong sense of betrayal towards Imam Ali alayhi salam. And then to see Hadith al-Kisar personified, it was another level. So, you know, we read all of this in that hadith, but when actually seeing it on the screen, it gave me a spiritual feeling, I can definitely say that. And in terms of just things that could have been better, obviously the door incident was there. I believe it could have been made quicker, as according to the hadith, where Imam Ali comes straight away. But I believe as a movie they were trying to show emphasis on what happened, so I believe that could have been improved. And of course, just one criticism I would say is that more emphasis to who the characters were for non-Muslims, because we have some background knowledge, we could tell it, but I think they should have mentioned names a bit more, just to clarify who these characters are. That could have been done better in the movie. But overall, I liked it, yeah.
Thank you very much for your time on that, Sayyid. Did the movie live up to your expectations?
See, this is a difficult question, because when it comes to Ahlul Bayt al-Islam, I don't think you can do any justice when it comes to making a movie about their life. There's a lot of details that, you know, from my point of view, are kind of missing in the story, but overall it sets a foundation for a person to go in and inquire and actually research these issues, which is something which is well documented, not just in our books, Shia books, but even in Sunni books. Yeah, I personally would have preferred a series of some kind. But yeah, overall, I think it does its job. It serves its purpose.
Who is your most disliked character of the movie?
I would say there's probably several disliked characters, no doubt. For those who've watched the movie The Message, there's a scene in there where Abu Sufyan's wife Hinda, she eats the liver of Hazrat Hamza alayhi salam, she eats the liver. In this movie again we see a similar scene. Definitely it's more gory and more graphic. Yeah, and with the technology we have now, back in the day the cameras were different, but technology we have now, it really captures everything. It makes you feel as if you were there and you can really, relate not just to that scene but generally other scenes as well.
Okay. How do you think non-Muslims will view this movie?
Non-Muslims, I would say they would definitely have a better insight in terms of where the sort of terrorism started in history. Unfortunately, what people are not aware of is that Shias were the first victims of terrorism, so instead of Bayat Al-Islam. So, when it comes to terrorism generally, from a non-Muslim perspective, they always see Islam as being a religion of jihad and a religion spread by the sword and forcing religion on others. This is something which we are far away from, and this movie, obviously highlights that.
Would you like a sequel? And if so, who would you like it based on?
I mean, they can always go back to the original movie and maybe break down individual scenes, maybe add more details as well. Sequel, we could maybe have Karbala as a potential sequel. How the caliphate was usurped from Imam Ali alayhi salam, and later the very same caliphate were responsible to some extent in terms of how the later leaders come into play and how the grandson of the Prophet, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, was made martyr. And by the way, interestingly, in the movie as well, you do see them in various scenes, some very emotional scenes, like the event of the cloak, that's really touching. And of course, there's other details as well. There's so much that could be said about this film. There's just so much detail that's obviously missing at the same time. But for what it is, it does its job.
Okay. How historically accurate is the movie?
Well, these things are well documented both in Shia and Sunni books. So from Sunni books, you've got collective generations of Darby narrating it, but you have collective generations of people narrating these events and the details.
So where you're talking about accuracy, I take it you're referring to the attack on the house of Sayyeda Fatima.
Absolutely. In terms of what's been established in Sunni books, that is, you definitely have got the confrontation, the breaking of Zubayr's sword, you've got the threat that was made in the house of Sayyeda Fatima, and even you've got the confession of Abu Bakr. So yes, you have various reports mentioned in their books that detail the events, and of course what's been documented in ours. What I recommend you to do is actually watch one again. Okay. So I've gone into some detail about this.
You covered it in your show.
Yes, I do. And what we'll do is I'll include it in the video description so you guys can watch it. We've done several series on this. I think I believe 25 episodes in terms of the details debate.
That's really good. Thank you, Sayyid. I think the final question is regarding standout scenes. What was the best scene that you found in the...
There's many standout scenes, to be honest with you. All of them are quite touching. The fighting scenes are amazing. The way they've characterized the people in terms of the clothes, the scenery. Overall, I'd say they put some serious effort in. Even some of the music, the way it touches you in certain scenes. The film's been shot really well.
Excellent. Is there anything any message that you want to give to the viewers?
Yeah, just ignore the haters. My advice to you is, just watch the film and just make your own judgment. I know this movie may cause and upset certain sentiments, then don't watch it. It's not everyone's cup of tea. But for those who can, then definitely go out there and watch it. It's a family movie. I believe it's a 50 rating, but that's due to some of the fight scenes that you find in the film.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sayyid.
No problem. Thank you very much.
Inshallah, we'll see you soon.
Inshallah.